Hi students, welcome to your first chemistry lab. In this lab, we are going to focus on measurement. In particular, we are going to focus on how to measure accurately. We know that different instruments can have different divisions or graduations, and the more divisions you have, the more accurate your measurement can be. Follow along in this tutorial and take notes. After completing the tutorial, you can answer the questions to the lab.
So the first thing we need to ask ourselves is, what exactly is a significant figure or a significant digit? So significant figures relate to measurements. In science, we use a lot of numbers, and so we report those numbers with significant figures. The numbers in which we write down or report are called the significant figures, and they always include all of the known values of a measurement plus one estimated place value. So if we were to go and measure the length of this pencil in centimeters, what we can see is we're sure that it is definitely 4.7 centimeters because it's somewhere between 4.7 and 4.8, but then we need to estimate approximately how far in between 4.7 and 4.8 this length is. So two acceptable measurements could be 4.72 or 4.73 centimeters. The estimate will and can vary from person to person. So again, when we measure, it's really important we measure one more place value than is seen on our instrument. So here again, we have rulers. On the left, the rulers include the tenths place. And so our measurement has to include the hundredths place. So this nail has a length of 4.39 centimeters according to ruler A. Now, if you thought it was maybe 4.38, that's also okay because that last digit is an estimate. On the right, this ruler has less precision, so it is only marked to the whole centimeter. So according to this ruler, the length of this nail is only 4.3 centimeters. Now, if you thought it was 4.2, you're also correct. The important thing is the measurement that can be recorded with this instrument can only go out to the tenths place. So notice how we have the same nail, but since we have different rulers, the better ruler on the left has more place values in the measurement than on the right. Again, science is a system, so this is the system we use for measuring one place beyond. Okay, so let's practice measuring one place beyond with several instruments. So here we have the volumetric instruments called graduated cylinders. Recall that when you read a measurement from a graduated cylinder, you always want to read from the bottom of the meniscus, that sloping region. So we can see that the graduated cylinder on the left has less divisions. So its measurement, I'm going to estimate it to be approximately 4.7 milliliters of liquid there. Now, since the tenths place is my estimate, you could estimate 4.8 milliliters and you would still be correct. But the most important thing is all measurements with this graduated cylinder must include a tenths place. Now, on the right, we have a graduated cylinder with more divisions. So we need a number that reflects this better instrument. So here we have 4.7 again, but I think it's directly on the line. So I'm going to say 4.70. So what's really interesting is that in math and in chemistry, these quantities are the same, right? 7/10 is the same as 70/100, but the precision of each of these measurements is different. And so we can tell from that from 4.70 that we have a better instrument than we have with 4.7. Here, let's try again with these thermometers. When we look on the left, the thermometer has the tenths place, and we want to go and record the temperature in degrees Celsius from the top of the liquid there. And so here on the left, we have approximately 0.45 degrees Celsius. So here on the right, what we can see is that we have only the ones place marked, and we're going to read from the top of the line. We see that we're somewhere between -2 and -3. We appear to be a little bit closer to -3, so I think that I would estimate this temperature to be -2.7. Now, if you went and included a temperature of -2.6 or -2.8, that would also be acceptable because the last place value can vary from person to person, though we can obviously tell that it's not like 0.0. So although it's an estimate, it needs to be reasonable. So looking here at this gauge, which of these measurements would be acceptable related to this? Take a minute to pause the video and find the 2 acceptable measurements. So what I see here is that this is a measurement somewhere between 98 and 99. We only have ones place marked, so we're going to need a tenths place. And so here are our 2 acceptable measurements. By now, you should be able to explain how significant digits relate to the accuracy of a measurement, or how different instruments with different numbers of divisions should always give slightly different measurements.
This concludes the tutorial part of the lesson. Now you're ready to answer all the questions and do some measurements on your own.